Welcome to In Dad's Own Words, the VM Group's celebration of Father's Day 2021. In conversation with me today are Michael Howard, CEO of Victoria Mutual Money Transfer Services Limited.
Thank you.
We also have Mendel Thompson, Branch Manager for Ligani, VMBS. And we also have Theodore Williams, Assistant Manager for Group HR. And I am your host, Darian Reed. So today's conversation, we're focusing on the high points and the low points of the fatherhood experience. And these gentlemen are gonna usher me into the process because I am fatherless. Not fatherless, but I'm not.
Without child.
Without a child.
Not yet.
Okay,
on it.
and these men have experience. So probably by the end of the session, I would decide if this is a road I want to take based on what you guys have said. Okay?
Yes. I hope you decide to take it.
All right, let's see.
I agree.
All right. So first things first, we're gonna talk about that moment when you found out that you're going to be a dad. Let me hear Mendel first.
Well,
What
it's
was that
interesting because the first time, when my wife had a miscarriage on the very first try, so it was heartbreaking for me because I normally we think that, we know women have a hard time if they have a miscarriage, but I felt I suffered more. So when she was pregnant again with my first daughter, Safia, it was a mountain of joy. And I remember the first time holding her because I had to be there in the delivery room. The whole thing, I was there. And it was an amazing experience to hold her for the first time.
And Theodore, you're fresh out the blocks with fatherhood.
Yes, 7 months in. I was actually at work. So I knew the morning that she was going to take the test. And then while at work, she confirmed that it's some amazing news and that she's pregnant. So I was actually at my desk. Needless to say that I was the happiest man alive at that point.
Okay. And still happy.
Still happy.
Still happy. And you have
A few
twins
sleepless nights, but I'm still happy.
because you have twin boys.
Yes,
that's
twin
it.
boys, twin
And
boys.
Mendel, you have 4 children, 3 girls and a boy, and in
Right.
that mix is a pair of twins.
The last
and
2 are twins, boy and girl.
Okay. And then we have Michael here, whose children are now adults. So we're getting a range of perspectives
Right.
for this particular conversation. All right, so now tell me, were you ready? Were you prepared?
Well, I'll take that. For me, I have a 27-year-old son. And if you look at me, I still look young, right? So that tells you that I had that son when I was just coming out of high school. So I was not ready in any way, any form. Contrasting to what Mendel just said and Theodore said, how they were happy and elated. And I was like, why me? How this happened to me? That was my that was my first reaction. It was rough because for me, I was just coming out of high school. My wife at the time, or my girlfriend at the time, became my wife. She was in high school, just about to graduate. So she was graduating, being pregnant.
Oh.
So
Trouble.
for me, trouble, real trouble at that young age. So the struggle began at that time. So for me, it was different. I started very early.
And I realized that you kind of diverted from the kind of formula that exists, which is you get education, you get a good job, you get a car, you get a house, you find a wife, you get married, and then you get the kids.
So I did it the reverse. So I did it the wrong way. So all the persons out there watching, I did it the wrong way. I went and I had the child first, which is wrong. It created a struggle. And it was a hard struggle at that young age to have a wife, have a child, trying to go back to school, trying to work. It was a big struggle.
Okay, so I guess Theo and Mendel, you guys did the thing correctly.
The right way, right?
And we're not prescribing anything for people out there, but we're just saying that worked for you.
Well,
And
clearly it worked for Michael as well.
I mean, yeah, it still worked for Michael. But tell me something. Did you feel pressured, Theo and Mendel, in any way, shape, or form, to kind of prove to people that you were ready for fatherhood by showing them or ticking these boxes? The car, the house.
I mean, I could go first. So I've been married a couple of years now. And one of the things that after a year in marriage, then, you know, people start, hey, what's up with the child, you know? So for us, I wouldn't say I was pressured, but you know, you wanted to tick that part of the box with respect to marriage. So I was very happy when we found out that we were pregnant. So that's a win for me.
Good stuff.
So for me and my wife, it was a natural progression. So got married, enjoyed ourselves a little bit, you know. And then, you know, the time came to have children. We say, so we wanted to have children. We started the process, the hard work to get there. But what was interesting though is that the first pregnancy with my first child was actually very difficult. So my wife was like, this was such a rough experience. She doesn't want to prolong the process.
Okay.
Come, next one. Typically, women didn't want to stop if you had a very difficult pregnancy. She was like, nope, let's just get them out quickly. Which I didn't mind, you know.
Okay.
Because it's a good work to get them here.
Okay. And like, I know they say like experience teaches wisdom, and I imagine that being a father is like a on-the-job kind of training, you know,
Yes.
despite the amount of advice that you would have gotten. But I'm curious to know, what did your fathers or other father figures in your lives teach you about fatherhood? That's on the one hand.
Yeah.
And then on the second hand is, what did you discover for yourself? You fresh out the block, so you still a discover.
I'm still
but
Discovery mode, right?
Yes.
what have
Well-
you discovered by yourself?
Well, for me, I spoke about the struggle early, but I also had my own struggles with my father not being around. And my father not being around also taught me something. So I said to myself, anytime I have a child, I will always be there. I'll always be there in all ways possible. And that was important for me. So I learned from my father not being there. I saw my mother tried to make contact, and it didn't happen. And I said to myself, this will not happen to any child I have. So I learned from that. You had father figures around me. You had my uncles, my stepdad, and so on. And I learned stuff from them, how to treat persons, how to treat a child, how to grow a child. And that helped me. And unlike Mendel, I didn't go back right away because remember the why me. So I went back about 9 years after. So I have a daughter who is 8, well, she was 19 just last week. So I went back almost 9 years after.
Okay.
So I raised my son, of course, and my daughter. They're big people now, big kids.
Adults.
Yes.
Well, much like you, I mean, I think I met my father when I was about 14.
Yeah.
On the telephone, and to this day we still haven't met each other in person.
Well,
so and I'm
so you
26
fully
now,
understand.
so
You fully understand.
yeah, so I do understand.
I met my father when I was face to face when I was about 30. So like going through school, I'm on the bus and I'm looking at person and I said, I wonder if that's my father. I wonder if I just didn't know him. I didn't have a picture. I didn't have anything. So when I was about 30, I met my dad, and I showed him the same care and love because you have to. He's still your father, right? So the same care and love was there, still there, and still showing it to him.
Good. Okay, and I guess this question pertains to Theo and Mendel. Given that you had your fathers in your lives, or you had some form of father figure present, how are you raising your children differently than your parents did? If you are.
Differently. I would say that, well, I remember growing up with my father, it was a lot of fun. And that's one of the things that I say I want my kids to experience. You know, we used to go on a lot of road trips. You just get up and say road, right? We used to have wonderful experiences when there's a power cut. Everybody would gather, he'd grab his guitar, start to sing, you know, play music and sing. It was a lot of fun. So growing up with him was a lot of fun, and I decided that that's the type of experience I want to have with my children. You know, there are some things that he was not able to do. And those are the things that I would have learned from in terms of making certain provisions and putting things in place to ensure that my children are set. But overall, for me, it was a really good experience growing up. And for them, my children, it's the same. I want them to have a phenomenal experience growing up, enjoying their childhood. Protecting them is very key, especially in this kind of environment and this kind of world. It wasn't as hard in my time. But with internet and everything, and they're so smart, they can just, figure out things on their own. We have to be it's so much more protection that we have to, create for them and ensure that we lead them and teach them the right values that they grow. Because there are so many different values coming from all different places that you don't necessarily agree with, and we have to be so careful to ensure that we teach them the values that we believe in and that we want them to follow.
And if I can just follow up, what are some of those values that you think are good values that you want to instill in your children?
All right, so simple things like, kindness, right? I'm a Christian, so I believe certain things. I believe in a number of different things in terms of how do you live, how do you treat people, how do you carry yourself, all these type of things is very important, and that they're not allowed to just do what they want, what they feel like. I say no.
Okay.
not my child.
So you have 3 girls. You have a daughter?
Yes.
Yes, you mentioned you have a daughter.
Yeah, my daughter she's 19 now.
She's 19.
Unbelievable. Still my little daughter, but she's 19.
Did you find that you used different methods in terms of raising your sons from your daughter?
Well, yes, I believe I was more rough with my son, trying to get him, you have to know the world, you have to know what's out there. And my daughter, I believe, she had me soft. she brought me down. So, yeah, that's what the Jamaicans would say, right? She had me around her little finger. So, anything she wants, she'll get, of course. And that's one of the things I've done. When I was growing up, I didn't have a lot of things. It's documented in the papers. It's documented all over the childhood for me, the rough life, moving from doing things on the streets and so on to a CEO. It's documented. It's there.
Yeah.
So I told myself, my kids, I want them to have a better life.
Yeah.
So I made sure I provide for them. So provide for my son right through high school, through college. Now he has a degree. Now he's working. My daughter, likewise, right through high school, provided for her, and now she's going off to university, and I'm making sure everything is paid for. So I made sure I learn from my hardship, and I said, for the kids, I'll make sure I provide for them, and they're okay coming through life.
Nice foundation.
Yeah, that's a solid one.
Nice. Okay, so for those of us who are just joining us, we are having a conversation about the highs and lows of fatherhood, the experience and we're getting a range of perspectives, as I said earlier. The man whose children are now adults.
Yes.
4 kids, 3 girls and a boy, a pair of twin in the mix, as well as fresh out the blocks, two boys, twin boys. So if you're just joining us, you can leave your comments and just join the conversation. All right, so we know that historically, men are viewed as the breadwinners or the providers of the family, and women have been viewed as the nurturers who normally stay at home to take care of the kids.
Right.
Do you think that method, and I believe to a great extent we still hold on to some tenets of it in today's society, how do you think that method, if it has impacted men's relationship with their children? Because they're mostly outside of the home. So how do you think that impacts it?
I think my views on that has evolved. So now coming into the role of a father, for me and my wife, it has always been a partnership. And within that partnership, there's no exclusive role. I mean, we agree that, the first couple of months, a large portion of the heavy lifting is really on the mother, and we provide the support. But I think where we are and just how things are flowing now, both parties are equal in supporting the child, and that's on all levels.
Okay. And I think you mentioned it earlier in terms of the fact that we're raising our children in a different era, different than Michael raised his children.
Yeah.
What are some of your fears raising them in this era? And even if you can comment on the backdrop of the COVID-19 pandemic, what are some of your fears raising them?
All right, so my fears would be around, them learning and taking on certain kind of ways and values because they're on the internet now. So the content is a lot of North American content, different kind of values which I don't believe in. Even issues related to like I'm very serious, for example, in the area of witchcraft. I don't allow any kind of magic, cartoon with magic or anything in my house because that can segue into other things, right? But with the internet as it is now, with no restrictions, the music that they're listening to, even in the cartoons, so many different influences are coming in. And my one of my concern and fears is that if that information is getting to them more than what I'm teaching them, it can lead them down a road that I wouldn't want them to go down, So it's hard, but at the same time, you cannot control everything that is happening. So the best that we can do is to teach them and let them know that, teach them how to regulate themselves. Because we tell them that, look, mommy and daddy will not always be here to guide you. So you need to understand that this is a good decision, these are bad decisions, the consequences of it, and know that it's your decision and you have to make the right choice, right? So that's something that we're always, telling them, sharing with them, and giving them the opportunity to do. Sometimes they'll fail, and we give them opportunities to come again and get into the practice of making the right decision. And when they do, we celebrate it.
And even how they're able to navigate the devices now, One of my boys, Mekai, he's even in how he's now handling the device, it's almost as if he came pre-packaged, knowing how to handle the phone.
Yeah, so, it's true.
It's serious. I told you about my daughter being 19.
Yeah.
But it's still my little daughter, right? Still my small daughter.
Even at 30.
Yeah. So at 19, no, she came to me recently to say, Daddy, I met a new friend. I met a new friend on the internet. It's a girl, and she's 20, and we have been talking for 3 months, and she wants us to meet up at the mall. And I said, hold on. Red flag. Meeting a friend on the internet. Talking on the internet for 3 months. This may not be the person you believe it is. And I said, I need to be a part of that meeting. So at age 19, it's still my little daughter, still being protective. Still have to watch out this internet, and you don't know what it brings and what may happen.
And there's so many scammers.
Exactly.
Okay, so Theo, twin boys. What are some of the difficulties, really and truly, of raising 2 boys at the same time?
I think for me, everything is double. So one of the boys were in NICU for about 17 days. Good thing for VM, we have paternity leave, so that definitely helped. And I mean, I was hearing a lot of the stories, listening to even, videos and stuff. But it hit like a train when those boys landed. You're talking about the sleepless nights, trying to figure out, what works, and really just trying to support Vanessa as best as I could. For me, it's still a long way in terms of the learning and just seeing the different personalities. But I would have to say the biggest struggle for me now is balancing what life was
before.
Yes.
It will never be the same again.
I'm now learning that it will never be the
The party, man. I guess you're staying up now, but for a different reason.
Yes.
Your shift, night shift.
To some extent, I think we have good support. It's still a challenge because the other thing now is that my hearing is keen to them. So I could be in front of the television or I'm here in front of loud music. Once they start to cry, I can hear it, even if I'm outside. So I'll be in a discussion with a group of friends and, I can say to them, that boy crying now, and they're, of course, clueless. So, but I think outside of all of that, just being able to wake up and to look at them and see them smiling at you and, holding on to your hands and, just laughing and knowing that you're doing everything that you can possibly to take good care of them and ensure that they're in the best of health, it's really a good feeling.
Yeah. Mendel, I don't know if you want to jump in on this in terms of some of the difficult points of fatherhood. I mean, we don't normally talk about it.
Well, I can tell you, I'm experiencing one challenge right now. Last year, one of my children developed a kidney condition called nephrotic syndrome, which requires her to be on steroids, which means she's more prone to infection. Right now, she's actually in the hospital.
Okay.
And so what we find is that her mom and I will switch. Mom will be at the hospital with her in the day. I'll be at the hospital at night. You know, because we're not leaving our children alone in the hands of any nurse or doctor, right? So it is very challenging. But guess what? When you're there, and as Theodore said, you're there with your child. The child wakes up in the middle of the night and look, and you're right there beside them, and they can hold on to your hand and say, "Daddy." You're there and say, "Yeah, honey, I'm here for you. Don't worry." You know, it's a really rewarding experience. And I think it trumps the challenge that you might think or perceive you're feeling because you know that you're there. And it's and I mean, you can make the most of it and you can create fun around it and enjoy it, you know. That particular child says she wants to be a doctor. So I said, good, you're in the hospital, pay attention to everything that they're doing because when you become a doctor, you're going to have to do it. And she's guiding the doctor. I said, doctor, this is where you need to put the access. No, you can't use that vein, use this one. You know, that type of thing. So it even though it's challenging, you can make it nice and you can make it fun, you can make it rewarding, you know?
And how old are they?
She's 7, so she's one of the twins.
She's one of the twins.
If I just add before Michael comes in, I think for me, right now we're discovering a lot of things. So even for them now to be sitting up and just going through the different milestones. So I'd have done my research in terms of what needs to happen when. So it's like going through and, oh yes, he's doing that now, he's doing that now. And if something is a little late, I'm like, so like, no man, I'm good man. And then you're seeing it work through. So for me now is the two little tools coming out and, you know, the hands and the fast movements and, you know, just them rolling over and kicking up a storm and the high energy and the rolling now is not just here, but them end up all over there. And so you have to be more vigilant. It's really exciting. And that is the fun part. That for me is the fun part.
And I imagine you have to just trust the process because what if he's supposed to, based on the textbook, he's supposed to start do this at 6-7 months and then, you know, you can't.
That is true.
You can't get frantic,
you have to be careful because children are different and they develop at different stages. So even the twins, right? There's a point when there's a concern about my son where is his development, you know, behind schedule. You know, and my wife was very concerned at one point and said, no, honey, don't worry about it. The boy is fine, right? He'll be sucking his finger all the time. He's not saying much, but he's observing everything, right? I remember just afterwards we were talking to a teacher, and the teacher was saying that, you know, he's a little bit more advanced than she's in some areas. So sometimes as parents we worry, and sometimes you get a prescription, but children are different. You don't have to worry about the prescription. Each child is unique, right? So trust the process and just grow with them, and don't get too overexcited on certain things because you don't want to create things that don't exist.
You don't want to get too high and too low. So you have to learn to manage it.
Yes.
And for me though, I was old school. I did it the way how you can't do it today. Well, back then for me was going out, as you mentioned earlier, being the breadwinner, while the mother is at home taking care of everything else. So basically, their mother was the one who grew them. I'm out there working hard, working, bringing in the money, make sure everything is done. So that was the old school way. And that's not the recommended way now. As you hear from these youngsters, things have changed somewhat. And the guys out there who believe they can just go out and work and that's it, and bring in the money, I think there's a change. There is a big change, and this is now the new way how to do it.
Change in the right direction.
Of course, in the right direction.
One of the comments that we normally hear women share or express is that men are closed off emotionally, they don't talk much, all of that. My question is, how do you think, first of all, are you emotionally open with your partners, your spouses? And what does being emotionally open to your children look like? Who wanted that one?
Well, for me, because I have big kids, you know, they're still my little ones. You have to be open because you have to show them both sides. Because Mendel spoke earlier about the internet being out there and all type of things happening, predators out there. The thing that you're lacking, you're not showing, they will show them out there. If you're not showing the care, they will show. If you're not showing the financial assistance, the predators will show it. You have to be open. You have to be willing to speak to them, talk them through issues. My son, when he was going through Stella Maris and Woolmer's and Huey and so on, he was always an A student. Always getting A's, always doing well. But he was always concerned, you know, about his peers and issues, and I had to be talking to him and say, look here, not because you're so bright, nothing is wrong with you, because you know how it is, see as nerd or whatever it is. So I had to be talking him through those things. My daughter, who just went through Alpha and moving on now to university, she was the same. All A's, doing very well, but she's by herself all the time, on the internet, don't have a lot of friends. She's always saying to me, Daddy, something is wrong with me. I don't have any friends. I'm not going out and not talking to anybody. I'm just on the internet every day. I'm just studying. But I have to tell her, no, nothing is wrong with that. Nothing is wrong with that. Okay. This is just how things are now, and you're doing the right thing. School is priority. Continue getting your A grades. Continue doing well. And then at a certain phase, you will have friends and you can move on.
Things will fall in place.
Exactly.
All right. And on a parting note, what advice do you have to men or young men who are one day hoping to become fathers? Do you have any advice?
Well, you know, it can be an amazing journey. I think the important thing is really to, as best as you can, select a right partner. Because that goes a far way in both of you really building a foundation to support that child. 7 months in, it has been a good journey, minus the sleep and just the concern for them in terms of their overall well-being. Notwithstanding that, the key thing for me is finding a right partner. That's what I would leave with the men watching this.
Mendel?
So someone said something to me. They say when you're a parent, the days go slowly, but the years go quickly, right? So one of the key things is important to enjoy the seasons as you go through them, and even if it's challenging, it won't last forever, right? It will pass, and you will pass through it, but enjoy it, you know, because as you quint, just like Mikey will say, they're big, and they're gone. And some phases, if you miss it, you won't be able to get it again. So it's important to ensure that you are there and you enjoy each aspect of it. And you don't know everything, you won't know everything, and it's okay, right? You will grow and you will learn, right? You and the child will grow and your children will grow together. You learn together. So don't worry about it.
And on that note, we bring this conversation to an end. We want to thank the three gentlemen for participating. Thank you so much for sharing your perspectives. And we hope that you guys learned something. You hope you took away a gem from this of some sorts. We also want to wish our members, team members, and our VM clients a happy Father's Day. And until next time, walk good. I'm Darian Reed. Take care.